Peter Crawley, and I'm an adjunct faculty at Boston College School of Management. This notion of changing, oh, thank you. We don't have these at BC. The idea of changing a culture, a people's mindset, sounds like such a huge undertaking, and to think of doing it on a global level, I'd be interested in your ideas on how you make that truly happen at a grassroots level in cultures such as, Middle Eastern cultures that have a tribal and warlord orientation. We're seeing the struggle of mindsets between the leader of the Tibetan people, the Dalai Lama, and the mindset of the Chinese leaders. I think we're going to see this play out, a mindset that is dedicated to peaceful resolution of issues, and whether or not it can really occur in the modern world. So I'd be interested to hear how you suggest this could really come about.
I apologize, but I suggest that your description of the warlord mentality of the Middle East itself, needs some change. I think one way of dealing with mindset is to be more fully informed. So we need both. This is a very visual society. We need to know something about what Howard was talking about. What does war do to people? There are now close to 40,000 U.S. veterans who are in different states of decomposition and suffering. Why is it only now that some of their accounts are becoming public? They have a view of that war and what it was about. They also have another view of what the society that they were involved in is about. But I would say generally that what Howard is describing is universal. That it's difficult to find a place where warring is the espoused the value of the community. I think that if we knew something more, let's just stick to the Middle East, about which I think generally much is known and very little is known. Much information is available about the diversity, including in Iraq, including this terrible sectarian division which has become holy and is because it is perceived as normal and natural to the region, which it is not. So my response to your point is that why don't we start today about our mindset and not worry too much about the rest of the world, and take that as the first step. Thank you.
This question you raised, this large question of changing mindsets, and it's true that if you look at the entire world and say, how are we going to change the mindset of the world? Well, a couple of answers to that. One is history comes in handy. Mindsets have been changed historically. If you cut out history and you just look at the present time and look at the power of the terrible mindsets that we have today and try to imagine changing it, and usually you think about changing it quickly, no, it's going to look impossible. But you have to think back to the places and times of history where mindsets have been changed. They've changed for large populations. It wasn't done overnight, but it was done by persistent struggle. I mean, the mindset of Americans about slavery was changed. When the anti-slavery movement started in this country in the 1830s, and I'm not talking about the South, I'm talking about the North. The North supported slavery. People in the North supported slavery. And first abolitionists were stoned and some of them were killed. But the movement persisted. And it took 20 or 30 years. But the mindset of people in the North was sufficiently changed so that by the 1860s, you had a huge anti-slavery movement in this country, one strong enough to push Lincoln into the Emancipation Proclamation and to push Congress into the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And you look at the changing of the mindset about, well, to take the issue of black people in this country forward, the mindset in the South about racial segregation. And I lived in the South during that period when the movement was going on. It's amazing how you could see white Southerners change. It's not that all white Southerners were racist to begin with. This was this kind of stereotype in the North, you know, white Northerners are liberal and white Southerners are racist. It wasn't that way at all. But yeah, there was a lot of overt racism in the South. And when the movement began to move and when things began to happen, and when the black people made their feelings known by their actions and so on, you began to see changes in the thinking of white Southerners. When they experienced the first black people sitting at the bus counters or going into restaurants or being on buses and the world didn't come to an end, well, we began to think. Mindsets changed. Well, we've seen the mindset of Americans change about the war in Iraq in a few years, right? From support of the war. An important thing to remember is that these mindsets that I'm talking about are not natural to human beings. These are artificial concepts which have been drummed into the heads of people. And so we're not working against human nature, we're working with human nature because I believe that human beings naturally really want peace and oppose violence and want brotherhood and sisterhood and community. And they can be diverted from that by enormous efforts of propaganda which governments are capable of. But those things can be dissected and taken apart and disintegrate. It takes a lot of effort. It takes time. It takes persistence. But as Irene says, we start here. We start with us. We start with the people we know. You're not sure of the results. You're not sure at what point the mindset of large populations will change. But if you continue and persist and are willing to take risks, well, yes, something good will happen.